Carlin family. Welcome to my outdoor classroom. This is my backyard, so we'll see how this goes. I'm not quite used to this setup. Also, my dogs are out here, so you might see them come through the screen in just a little while. Just ignore them. The wonderful thing about music is that you can create music anywhere you go, wherever you may be. So we may not be at school, we may not be in my classroom, but that doesn't mean that we're not going to be able to create music together. So, for example, today I'm outside in my backyard, but we're still going to be able to do some really cool things. Before we get started, I want to remind everybody to please make sure that you go and you join my Seesaw classroom. I made a video earlier about how you go in and do that, because after we finish today's lesson, I want you guys to share some videos and some pictures of what you create. Okay, so today I want to talk about some different kinds of instruments, and then I want to actually create an instrument today. So when we are talking about instruments, there's really four main groups or categories of instruments, and we call those the four major instrument families. And those are the four families of the orchestra. So you can see on my screen here, I have a picture of the orchestra, and there are tons of people in the orchestra, and they're all holding a different kind of instrument. And we divide those instruments up into four major groups. And so the first group of instruments that, first category of instruments that we have is the brass family. And on my screen here you can see a picture of a trumpet, trombone, French horn, and a tuba. So if you were to just look at these instruments, you could see that they kind of look similar. Of course, some are big and some are small, but one thing that they have in common is they're all made out of metal, and something else that they have in common is they all, on the end, where your mouth goes, they have what's called a mouthpiece, and all brass instruments have this same type of mouthpiece where you're actually going to buzz your lips to make a sound. Okay, so this is the first group of instruments, the brass family. The next group of instruments is the string family, and it's called the string family because all of these instruments have strings on them. And in our picture you can see the violin, the viola, cello, string bass. Over here is the big harp, has lots of strings on it. A guitar would go in this group, or a ukulele. So the string family. Next is the woodwind family. For my third and fourth graders who have been playing recorders at school, your recorder actually goes into the woodwind family. And if you look at all of these instruments, something that you may see is they're all long and skinny, and they have lots of buttons on them to press. So we have the woodwind family, and then the main family that I want to talk about today is the percussion family. And sometimes I like to think that the percussion family is like the most fun one because it's really diverse. If you look at this picture, you can see that these instruments all look very different. We have drums that you can hit. We have things that you shake. There's some of them are big, some of them are little, and they all sound really very different as well. The main thing about percussion instruments is you can make sounds on them in three different ways. So the first way that you make a sound on a percussion instrument is to hit it with something, and this is what a lot of people think about when you have a drumstick and you have a drum and you actually hit it together and it makes a sound. So for instance, I have a drum at my house, and to make a sound on this drum, I have to take my hand and hit it. Okay, so the first way you make a sound is by hitting it or striking it. The next way that you can make a sound on a percussion instrument, that's my dog, did you just hear my dog? The next way that you can make a sound on a percussion instrument is to shake it. So I have this thing. It looks like an orange, but surprise, surprise, It's actually a shaker. So we can shake them, and then I also have a tambourine that we can shake. Okay, and so there's striking, shaking, and then the last one is scraping. And I did not have an instrument at my house that you would scrape to make a sound on, so I improvised one. I found this pitcher in the kitchen, and you can see it has a bumpy surface on it. And so the way that you would make a sound on that is you would take a stick and actually scrape that bumpy surface. Okay? So, what's the 3 ways that you can make sounds on percussion instruments? The first one is to strike or hit it. The second one is to shake it. And then the third one is going to be to scrape it. Okay? So I want us to go back to the instruments that we strike or hit. And we're going to go back to the drum that I have here. And the name of this drum is called a djembe. You can see it on the screen here. Djembe. And the djembe is an African hand drum. And they are used a lot of times in drum circles. So like a ceremonial drum circle, or it could just be people getting together to socialize and have fun. And so the way that you play the djembe is with your hands. So you're going to actually hit it. You can hit it in different places. You can hit it on the outside edge, or you can hit it in the center, and you're going to be able to play different beats on it. So I have a djembe at my house that I can play on, and that's cool and all, but I'm guessing that most of you don't have a djembe at your house, or you may not have a drum at your house. So what we're going to do today is we're going to try to create our own drums out of things that we find around the house. So I went on a scavenger hunt around my house and just tried to find some cool things that I thought might make some cool drums. So use these as some ideas for what you might want to use to make your drum. So let me show you what I found at my house. The first thing that I found is just a Tupperware container, and it doesn't have a lid on it, so I'm going to actually flip it upside down. And I didn't have any drumsticks at my house either, so I had to improvise on that as well. And so I went and found 2 pencils. So if I flip my Tupperware container upside down, all of a sudden, I have a cool drum. Okay, so here's my first example of a drum. The next thing that I found, hey guys, sorry. The next thing that I found is a popcorn tin from Christmas. It's super cute. It has these puppies on it. But guess what? I'm gonna make a drum out of it. So I'll take my pencils again, and I actually kind of like the way that one sounds. So I have the Tupperware container, and then I have the popcorn container. Okay, let's see what else I found in my house. I found this trash can. It's just a trash can. Okay, so if I flip it upside down, again, here we go. Let's see what this one sounds like. Pretty cool, right? Let's see, the next thing that I found at my house was a flower pot. Sadly, my flowers died, so I'm gonna turn it upside down and make a drum out of it. So I have, okay, and this one might be my favorite one because I took a marker and I drew some designs on it. So this was a container that had oatmeal in it, and there's not any oatmeal in it anymore. And I took the paper off the outside of it. But here it is, a cool drum. Okay, now if I put all of my drums together that I've made, it's almost like I have a drum set. So I could play all different kinds of rhythms on my drum sets. You could also find other things to use as your drumsticks. I found 2 wooden spoons in my kitchen, so if I flip them upside down, now they're my drumsticks. Okay. Also, I just found these 2 sticks in my yard, so I could use these as 2 drumsticks if I wanted to. Okay. So the cool thing is once you figure out what you want to use as your drum, then you can play your drum to any song that you want to. Okay. I'm just going to pick one drum right now. So I'm going to set these. I really like the popcorn tin. So this is going to be my drum right now. And I'm just going to turn on one of my favorite songs and I will play my drum to my favorite song. So what I want you guys to do is figure out what you're going to use for your drum. You can, anything you can find at your house that you can turn into a drum is going to be fine. Make sure you check with your parents. Don't, of course, don't go get a container of oatmeal and then dump all the oatmeal in the trash can because you want to use it as a drum. So double check with your parents and make sure that it's okay for you to use it as a drum. And if you can decorate it and draw on it and make it beautiful and cool, that makes it even better, right? Okay. Then I want you to take a picture of your drum and send it to me in my Seesaw classroom. And for bonus points, find a song and I want you to play your drum to your song. So here's one of my favorite songs.
Playing from Aaron's iPhone.
to see